Hey you, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tina and my aim is to improve your drawings just like others have done for me when I just started out. In this week's video we are going to draw a ginger cat. More like my cat, because I realized this week that we've drawn my dogs like multiple times already now, and the cat just hasn't been in the drawing scheme, so it's time to change that this week. So I'm starting with my underlayer in panpastels, and then I'm going over with pencils to get in the details. I'm not doing a background for this one as I want it to be a kind of like classic portrait. So as you can see by now, I've filled in with panpastels the underlayer already about halfway, and I'm only using like 3 or 4 different colors. A very light peachy pink color for the lightest parts like the nose and around the eyes and the ears, and then a very dark, as you can see me now, to use on his stripes because he has like those little tiger stripes, and then a more neutral orangey brown to get in the base layer for his just regular orange fur, and a little darker shade to get in some shadow on the orange fur. So when the panpastel underlayer is finished, I grab my pencils and I go in with the details. So I wanted to start on the eyes because those are the main focal point in every portrait. And I wanted to get these right because to me his eyes are very special, because he can look very innocent with them and then at the same time he can look very menacing. So to get in the eyes was like the key for me. I only use like 4 or 5 different colors on here, a very light green ivory color, and then a darker green which I only use sparingly to get in some extra details as you can see me do now, and then a very light ivory color to get in some reflection, and a little brown at the edges. And of course his pupil, which is black, and then I blend it all out with my blending stump because with my finger it would just be too big and I would smudge the whole thing. So I use a blending stump right there to get in some more control. As I continue, I start off with the ears because I want to work from top to the bottom and the left to the right, although I switch this up sometimes and work on the right equally to the left because I want to get it the same look. But anyway, starting off with the ears, I first used the light pink to get in some more of that pink color because it felt like a little too dull. And now I'm starting to get in those hairs that floof in the ears, as you will. So I did this with 2 different colors. I first went in with a yellow ochre type of color to get in the base layer. Then I went over that with a very light ivory color to get in the second layer, and you will see me go over that again, but apparently not now, but I do that again later in the video to get in a 3rd layer, which makes it seem really fluffy. And then I start on the orange fur. The orange fur is basically the same all over. I start off with this color, which is an orangey brown by Stabilo Carbotello, and I do this to add in the first layer all over his face, or at least on the most parts where his fur isn't really in shadow or in light, because this picture was equally lit, so it's a very nice picture to work from. And then I just use this yellow ochre color to get in the lighter areas. I will go over this again with ivory later on, but for now this already gives me the areas where the fur is lighter, and I can focus on the darker shades right after this. So now I want to get in those stripes, and I really struggled a little bit with this one because most of my colors made it seem too orange and red at the same time, which it really isn't. It's a very deep orange brownish color, but I didn't feel like I had that color in my arsenal, so I am going to go over the stripes quite a lot, as you will see in this video, to get them right. But once I found the color I am happy with, I stick with that one for the rest of the stripes. Starting on his cheeks now and the little fur around his eyes, I use just a very light ivory yellow ochre color there as well. And for the fur on his cheeks, I do the same thing as I did on top of his head, and I start with that orangey brown color. Then for the bridge of his nose, on the edges there, it's always a little darker. So I wanted to get that in as well, so it looks like it's a little more in shadow, and it looks really cohesive to the whole piece. Because when you look at tigers and lions and all other sort of cats, big cats, small cats, doesn't really matter, they all have that line that goes from their tear duct to the nose bridge, and it's a little darker. So I wanted to get that in to make it seem really realistic. I go into the tear duct a little later on this video, so you can see me do that as well. Then for the parts where his whiskers come out, I used that same dark brown again that I used on the stripes to get in that feel that it makes it look deeper into the fur, like there's shadow there. So as you can see now, I used that darker color to get in the tear duct as well as that line that goes to the nose bridge. Then as for the details on this fur, I used the light ivory color to get in the more highlighted parts, as you can see right there. And I blend some of this out with my blending stump because my finger is a little bit too big for that because the portrait isn't really that big. And I didn't want to smudge it all over. I want to have that soft look, but still see the definition of the fur that I'm drawing in. Then for his lip and the chin area, I just did the same thing that I did on his head. I filled in the colors with the sort of fur that lays there, which is the regular orange fur, and then I went over with the darker and the lighter color to get in the shadows and highlights. As you can see on the top of his head and between his eyes, I did those highlights with the lighter color as well, and you can see that it really seems like a very ginger cat, which he really is. Then for his bottom part, I didn't want to add too much detail in there as I wanted to fade out towards the lower part. So I went in with the fur as I did on top of the head and the rest of the face, but then I blend this out way more, as you can see, with the blending stump first, and then I went over it again with my finger after I added some more layers because I really wanted to get that fluffy and furry look. But I want to blend it out as well so that it doesn't seem as in focus as the face is, because I really want to draw the attention to the face. So I don't add too much detail there, as in shadows and highlights as well. I just leave it as is when the colors are where I want them to be, and then I go in to refine the portrait as a whole. As now all the colors are in, you can see where you have to add in some more highlights, some more shadow to make it look really cohesive and realistic. But I do have to say that I'm pretty happy with this already, so I go in very quickly to the last part, which is the whiskers. A cat has so many whiskers, it's almost impossible to get them all in, but I think that makes it look all cohesive, and I'm really happy with the end result. I hope you learned something in this video, and I hope to see you again in the next one, and I hope you have a great week in the meantime. See you next time!